Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jessica, and I'm with the New York Community Action Project. And welcome to tonight's live stream about the many crimes of Governor Andrew Cuomo. As you might have heard in the news recently, Cuomo has come under fire for various allegations of sexual misconduct, and people are demanding that he resign. In light of this, I'm going to be talking about some of the many mistakes Cuomo has made during his term as governor of New York State, including these allegations, his response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and his views on policing. The first topic I'll be going over are the various allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct made against Governor Cuomo. So far, dozens of women have come forward with allegations, including the following: Charlotte Bennett, 25, who was previously Cuomo's aide, when he asked her about her sex life and if she has had sex with older men. A few days before Bennett came forward with her experience, another woman named Lindsay Boylan described Cuomo's sexual harassment toward her, stating that she had several uncomfortable experiences with him between 2015 and 2018, including him admitting to having a crush on her, touching her, and kissing her on the lips at a wedding. Kissing her on the lips without her consent. And then a third instance involves Anna Rush, who was never employed by Cuomo, unlike the other victims, but has said that he has put his hands on her bare lower back at a wedding in 2019. Governor Cuomo has since apologized for his actions, but since his apology, more women have come forward against him. And it is clear, based on these interactions, that Cuomo abuses his power, which we will see in some of the other actions that I'm going to be discussing further. So now I'm going to start off with the COVID-19. Along with the allegations of sexual misconduct, Governor Cuomo has mishandled the COVID-19 pandemic in various ways. While Cuomo has been praised for his leadership by some, to the point where he even wrote a book about how well he handled the pandemic, more and more information about his administration's corruption and mishandling of the pandemic has been revealed, showing the lengths that he'll go to in order to make himself look better than he is. Despite the measures taken by Cuomo to quell the COVID-19 pandemic, he still found it necessary to lie and intimidate people to cover his tracks and make himself look better than he was at handling it. It has been revealed that some of Cuomo's top aides have hidden data regarding nursing home deaths from COVID-19. And this has actually resulted in a federal probe of the data provided by Cuomo's administration. And the state health department's July report to the Justice Department had only listed the nursing home residents who died from the virus while still in their nursing home beds, which was minimizing of the death toll by excluding those who died after being taken to hospitals. And then it took his administration 8 months to bring forth the true totals. Along with hiding data, Cuomo ignored concerns from nursing homes in regard to their safety. On March 25th, 2020, the health department enacted a directive ordering nursing homes to admit infected patients who had been discharged from hospitals. This order has since been rescinded, but it neglected the safety of senior citizens and put many lives at risk. The operator of one nursing home in Brooklyn asked the administration if it could transfer residents with confirmed or suspected COVID-19 cases to the Javits Center or the USS Comfort, which at that time both had been set up as emergency facilities and remained mostly empty the entire time they were open. The state denied this request. And Cuomo also threatened one nursing home administrator named Michael Kraus in Staten Island so that they would accept COVID-19 patients. Kraus ultimately refused and didn't back down against Cuomo's threats. And by doing so, he ended up actually saving a lot of lives. And Cuomo has demonstrated that while projecting himself as like this great leader against COVID, he's still willing to lie, threaten, and intimidate others behind closed doors in order to get what he wants done. Governor Cuomo also put the responsibility on individuals to enforce social distancing rather than providing adequate resources for people to abide by them. He announced in April 2020 that people who did not abide by social distancing protocols would be fined up to $1,000. Laws that include fines as punishment ultimately means it's illegal when poor and working class people do it, but not for those who can afford to pay the fines. It would be a lot easier to not break social distancing guidelines if people's livelihoods didn't rely on going out to find work in order to make money, in order to afford to live. If everyone who wasn't deemed an essential worker was paid to stay home until the pandemic was mitigated, then it would be a lot easier for people to not have to break certain social distancing protocols to begin with. Another supposed solution that Cuomo gave for maintaining social distancing measures has been to encourage more action be taken by the NYPD, which leads me to my next section about Governor Cuomo's attitude on policing. Governor Cuomo has demonstrated himself to be someone who is in favor of more policing to resolve social problems, ignoring the fact that the police are part of the problem to begin with. Last August, Cuomo made a comment about how the NYPD needed to step up social distancing enforcement. The problem with this is that just a couple months earlier, a video was released of a Black man named Donnie Wright being thrown to the ground and violently arrested for supposedly not abiding by social distancing. Officer Francisco Garcia slapped, punched, and even put his knee on Wright's neck until another officer arrived. The putting his knee on the neck is the same way that George Floyd was murdered last year. The police also did not hesitate to break up events organized by Hasidic communities in Brooklyn, while at the same time, more white, affluent parts of the city received far less violence while gathering and breaking social distancing guidelines. This is not surprising, though, especially for a police department that has continually repressed Black, Latino, and other oppressed minority groups. It also strikes me as hypocritical, as I've seen many NYPD officers policing without masks on and breaking other social distancing guidelines themselves. This attitude of increasing policing was also seen by Cuomo during the 2020 uprisings in response to the murder of George Floyd. In response to the protests that happened in New York, Cuomo made remarks about the NYPD not doing enough to stop looters during the protests. He apologized not to Black Lives Matter or to people advocating for, but not for people fighting for justice, but to Mayor de Blasio and to the NYPD Commissioner Dermot Shea for doubting their abilities to properly enforce violence against those protesting for justice. As members of the New York Community Action Project, we saw at various protests firsthand that it was the police who were being violent and were certainly doing more than enough to try to quell the crowds, from using pepper spray to running their cars into people. There was no lack of violence from the police and really no need for Cuomo to make this comment about them needing to do more. Based on our eyewitness observations and seeing evidence of violence at other protests, it seems like Cuomo's comments were certainly out of touch with the actual situation on the ground. And because of this, it's apparent that Cuomo will not take the necessary steps in order to reform the police in really any meaningful way. And so what do we think is the way to do that? We support the Civilian Police Accountability Council, or CPAC. A CPAC will take the power away from the police and put it in the hands of the community to control and make decisions over what the police can do. A CPAC will consist of and be chosen by members of the communities they serve. They will oversee the budget, have hiring and firing powers, and have had to have a background in community organizing. NYCAP is currently fighting for a CPAC in New York City. So if you're interested in organizing with us on this campaign, please reach out to us. We also plan on being out in the streets when the verdict for Derek Chauvin, the officer who killed George Floyd, is announced. So if you're interested in joining us for this action and you're not part of any other organizing efforts, we're meeting on April 5th at 6:30 to discuss the trial and plan of action. And if you want to help us organize, not just for this, but for a CPAC, please reach out to us on our social media pages, our email address, or our phone number. And for that April 5th action, if you contact us, we will send you the Zoom link for it. We look forward to working with you. Thank you for listening and watching our live stream, and have a great night.